Hey everybody, what's going on? Emo Tempest here, joined by Andrew Ketchum, who just finished his day top 16 playing Golbez Rydia. It's a very much different take on Cat 4 that I really enjoyed. He had the pleasure of also whooping me up, I think in round 2, was it?
Yeah.
Round 2, so I was running into some of the best decks here, and this was one of them in the room for sure. Andrew, please talk to me about this deck, man.
So this deck was mainly built as an engine between both Golbez and Rydia. So I guess we'll start talking with the LB deck real quick then. Golbez, the new Golbez from Opus 25. 5 dark forward, and when it can pay 1 and X to search for an Archfiend of cost X and play it onto the field. So this is a very great toolbox card to just help you grab whatever Archfiends you need at the time. So I'm running 2 of those in the Limit Break deck, and then everything else in the Limit Break deck is Limit Break 1, because the plan is to cast this twice if I have to, and then ultimately I'll use the last Limit Break for whatever Limit Break 1 card I need, usually a Leo, sometimes a Materia, Sid Highwind if I need it. But mostly, you're playing Golbez.
Right, that's the plan, right?
Yeah, the plan is to play Golbez twice. Or once and then twice if you need to. And then Rydia pairs really well with him because him and all the Archfiends are Cat 4. And so, when she enters, she gets 2 growth counters, and whenever another Cat 4 character enters, she gets 2 growth counters. And she can once per turn cast a summon for free of cost equal to or less than the number of growth counters she has. So the plan when I first built this deck was, we'll play Rydia, get 2 growth counters. We'll play Golbez, get 2 more growth counters, so she's at 4. And then I basically play the rest of the game at instant speed. I get hurt, and so if I need to search out an Archfiend or something, I'll do that. If I need to cast a summon from hand from that, I'll do that. And all of this can be done at instant speed from there on out. And as I play more Archfiends, she'll even get bigger. Although I don't have anything in this deck higher than 6. Some people do like to run Arc with Golbez, but I didn't like having dark cards in my hand. So the highest cost I'm going to have is 6. So as soon as I search out 1 Archfiend and get her to 6, she can cast every summon in my deck.
Right.
So speaking of that, the Archfiends, my set for them is actually very simple. I'm just running 2 of each of the new ones. And these all have effects that are basically require Golbez to be on the field. And I think they're all very efficient for being able to be searched out with Golbez whenever you need to. Cagnazo is definitely MVP. This man is just a removal effect. I can search out at instant speed. If I have Golbez, I have instant speed, Cagnazo, put something in the break zone. And so he's definitely one of the things I'm searching out earliest. If I have to protect Golbez, we have Scarmiglione. If I get to then untap and attack with Golbez, I search out Rube. Rube I usually only search out during my turn. You could also essentially back attack him in as a blocker if they swing something smaller, if your Golbez is tapped or whatever, but that never came up this tournament. He's mostly, on my turn, about to attack, play Rubicante, I can remove a thing as Golbez attacks. Just these 2 as removal engines are really impressive. And the Barbarie's just kind of the backup. If things get to the break zone, I can't tutor them out with Golbez anymore. I grab her, then grab the Cognazo to play, or grab the Rubicante to play, or whatever. Also, if you have Golbez on field, she does 3k to their whole board on entry, which was relevant sometimes. Killing Leos is nice. So that's what the deck's engine was built on. This is the main game plan of the deck. And in testing it a lot, I kind of noticed against some decks in this meta, sometimes once per turn protection isn't enough, so I started really focusing on Siren as well. Since this deck is very high on summons and backups, Siren's chance to cancel is very high. I have 14 total forwards. We'll see the last 2 in a second. 14 total forwards, so Siren's chance to cancel is pretty high. Not as high as some other decks, but still very high. And so this is for the matchups when they can do multiple things every turn. The Yuna's matchups, I can try to dull everything down, or the Monsters matchup when you're going to deal with potentially 5 Witch triggers in one turn. Even Wolves sometimes can have a lot of triggers, like with a Ferris. This is very key against them to give me additional layers of protection. And so, yeah, some people were very much hated seeing Siren. The last forward in my deck is Une. I was going back and forth about what these slots should be, and even right now, I might not even think they're Une. But Une is obviously a very good card. Bounce a forward and a backup on entry. I easily can pay her extra cost all the time, so she's only 4 cost. And if she has to stick around, which is pretty likely when next to a Siren, I can start recurring summons for Rydia to free cast over and over again. I only really set up that loop like once this weekend, but it, it's very oppressive when you get there. Then we'll go on to some of the summons here. The bread and butter of why this I feel is so great is I get to run 3 Amats, 3 Mist Dragons. I can't hardcast Amat super reliably, although I do have Rubicantes, and you'll see my backups. I got Tyros and Santotos, but when I got to go Rydia into Golbez and then sit there with an Amat and a Mist Dragon in my hand, it's very hard for the opponent to do anything to me. So we're on 3 of those. Each, and then we got a bunch of other just good generic burst summons. 3 Kukulane, 3 Kusith. They got burst.
That's the big 5 right here. And I saw the left 6. The left 6
I got the left 6 too.
The big 5. Can't go wrong with these.
Yeah, all these summons are pretty self-explanatory. They're all good. These can be cast off only a single Rydia counter, or the enters with 2, so these can be cast off her immediately. So sometimes it's nice to just play Rydia, Kusith something back immediately, play another thing. It's good burst. Being able to cast leave at 6s a lot is also pretty backbreaking. There's been times I've cast like 3 or 4 times in a game, and it's just like, it's brutal. And also, hard casting one saved my butt one time. So, good bursts, good summons. And then other than that, for the summons, I've got 2 Mind Flayers and an Odin. The Mind Flayer is that's the other slot I'm still unsure of in the deck. It's fun against certain decks. It's really good. I did steal a Thornton one time in this tournament off it, which was hilarious. Stole a Thornton with Mind Flayer, played it for free, found an Amat, and so I didn't lose the next turn. Odin may seem very random because it is. Because before yesterday morning, it was a copy of Rydia. But in order to increase my Siren chances, I dropped one for just another burst summon that I had with me here in Texas. So it wasn't Odin. It never was hit to burst, and I never cast it, although there was a game I could have cast it for 2, which if I needed to, which would have been nice. But there was a time it was flipped off Siren, and it was good that it wasn't Rydia. So it mattered, I guess. Next is the backup line. The reason I was comfortable going down to 2 Rydias is because I run 3 Sarah into Kolka, and then I'm always grabbing Rydia with that. I could also grab Une or Skarm, but there's no reason to grab Skarm, and I'm usually grabbing Rydia. I grabbed Une once when I already had Rydia though, but that's why I'm going to take it caving at 2 Rydias. I then got 3 Loprits. This one's actually really important because it allows me to put the Archfiends back in the deck, because drawing the Archfiends is kind of bad a lot. I mean, sometimes it's fine and you just play him sorcery speed during your turn. And Skarm is still back attack, so he's still fine in hand. But it really feels bad to draw the Archfiends when you want to respond to the opponent with them.
Right.
So putting Cagnazos back with this is great. Putting Rubicante back with it is great. Or Barbarisha back. So this card's really nice for that. 3 Tyros are usually how I'm searching Siren. If I don't draw Siren raw the other stuff, I'll search them with Tyro. Also color fixes so I can, hard cast Amats or Rubicantes or whatever if I have to. 3 Miners because I'm running a lot of backups, and it's kind of, in my opinion, the next best backup chain. There's not really other backup chains in Water Earth other than Sarah's that are great. So that's great. I got 3 Santoto to deal with aggro because you're definitely just playing a lot of backups first with this deck. You're trying to go Sarah into Kolka, or Sarah play a Tyro in Kolka, or play some Loprits and some Miners, and the opponent will probably play some forwards, and especially if they're an aggro deck, they will definitely play forwards. 3 Santotos is good. Also, just like Carol, color fixing is great. Then I have 2 Cryos, also a great burst. Can grab summons back, but also notably it can grab Siren back because it's a Cat 5 forward.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that
dual purpose.
Yeah, that second mode. Most people like to run this for Wool decks run it for that Cat 5 one, but a lot of other summon decks run it for the summon one. I run it for both, but And that's that. So there's 18 backups and there's 17 summons. So there's only 14 forwards. So Siren has, essentially a 82% chance to succeed every time canceled. More if you're doing the math right and knowing how many forwards are left in the deck. And that is sometimes important to do.
I guess the only questions I have for you is when you were deck building, which other versions of the Archfiends were you messing around with?
So I've played other kinds of Archfiends decks in the past. I have a Warp Archfiends deck with the Opus 19 Golbez. And so I was always excited when these Archfiends were coming out, but then I saw them and they don't work with Warp Golbez at all. So I decided to try building with this one, and I've mostly been sticking with these new ones. I was trying the old Opus 13 Barbarecia for a while, and she could theoretically be good if you get the other 4 Archfiends out, play her for Golbez for 3 cost from the deck, and dedicate to the board. But that just rarely comes up. I'd rather, instead of proactively playing the Archfiends, I'm more reactive with it overall. It's really a control deck using the Archfiends and Rydia as an engine for that. So honestly, the newest Archfiends kind of ended up working out the best for it. You could see arguments for a few other ones. I don't think the Opus 13 Rubicante is bad either. It can be, if it's at damage 3, it's really big and it deals extra damage when it dies. And maybe that could warrant messing around with more. But I have been thinking about another version of this where you could run the starter Scarmiglione. Kind of the same thing. He's a really good, you can back attack him in essentially with Golbez, and then he deals double damage to a certain element. It's really good. And you can also recur specials for him with this Barbarecia. But I don't know. I like this version. So.
Okay.
But I think some of those other ones could have merit.
Okay. And then lastly is, in this whole tournament, what did you struggle the most against?
So, I just always have I always have a hard time against Warrior of the Lights. I did end up finally beating one of them. I only played 3 Warrior Light matchups. One in day 1, which I lost. Well, one of my 2 losses that day. Then top cut, I went against the Wolves first, and I beat them. And then I went against the Wolves again and lost 2-1. Although I think I could have won if I didn't screw up. I messed up game 2, and that's why I lost.
Damn.
But those matchups are hard, but that's why I've gone harder into Siren, and I think that's definitely made a difference. But decks that can get around Siren easily and are prepared for that. I do struggle against the locals Wolf player because he knows how my deck works, and he will not play a 4th backup, and he will hold a Shantoto in hand until I finally play a Siren. And then if I don't have Amat right then and there, he's going to get me with it. So I can struggle with that if people know how to get around the Siren. Other than that, aggro can be rough if they aggro out super hard and you can't find the Shantoto. But I'm really not worried about the aggro matches, because even if you have to play this deck a little more, if you don't get to set up as many backups, you can still do it, right? Even if you don't get to set up Siren, Rydia, and Golbez, just Rydia Golbez itself is the aggro decks usually won't be able to get through a Scarmiglione trigger and a potential Rydia, either Amat or Mistdragon, in the same turn. And then on your turn, I can, back on my turn, I can then play Rubicante and start killing things, or Cagnazzo and start killing things and start tearing their board apart. So even aggro, I'm not super worried with, but they can potentially take you down. I did almost lose to an aggro deck that just dropped a free Roche turn 1, hit me for 4 damage with the Roche as I was just playing backups. I would just play, I guess I'll take some hits as I just play backups. Right. And then I eventually wiped, they played a few more things and I Shantoto'd them. I was at damage 5. Then they played 2 hasters. Luckily, I had the Levi 6 in hand that I had to pitch my hand to play to get rid of his two. He had a Ruggagine and a Zac. So I almost lost that one. But for the most part, I'm not really worried about aggro. It's mostly just the Wool matchups and which monsters can be rough if really it comes down to, in those matchups, it comes down to how early can they get through Siren. Because again, Siren's there for those matchups like Witch, where they can do multiple removal effects in a turn. Because Golbez can only search out once per turn, Rydia can only cast for free once per turn. So if they get through those, they're going to start tearing your board apart. And that's what the matchups Sirens are for. And if sometimes Siren gets unlucky and you fail, that happened to me once or twice. But
Okay.
But that's it. That's really it. Those decks can be harder, but as long as you get Siren against those matchups, usually goes pretty well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, buddy. Again, congratulations. Anyone else you want to give? Anyone you want to give a shout out to while you're here?
All the crew in Vegas. We had 2 people come with us. My wife and one of our friends who's a little new to the game. Sad no one else in Vegas can make it, but we've got 2 local qualifiers there. One is in a week from today, and one will be next month. And if anyone else wants to go join us at the local qualifiers, feel free to come down.
All right. Well, thank you again, man. Have a good one.
You too.